Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Sarjit Herald and I'm director at India STEM Foundation. We are now into another STEM talk with leaders and I have with me Mr. Srinivas Prasad, who is a senior engineer at CrowdStrike India and has the work experience of more than 2 decades. And let's have a bit of discussion to know more about him, his views on STEM education, and get more awareness and insights from him. So, welcome Srinivas on the show.
Hi,
And
thanks.
I would first like you to tell all of us about yourself and what are you tinkering with these days?
Hi, thanks. It's a pleasure to engage in this conversation with you. Yeah, currently I am contributing to the kernel and user mode, the components of the Windows solutions for endpoint security, cyber security. It's like for the solutions like EDR, malware protection. So working on Windows kernel and user mode components. Interestingly, my career started as a civil engineer, so contributing to the engineering solutions for the civil engineering solution. But then I moved on to software intensive solutions like endpoint security. And then I contributed in different roles like a performance engineer, security champion, and then as a software developer and a requirement analyst. Contributed to the development life cycle in different roles.
So, how come starting from the engineering and
Mhm.
now into security, how does it feel?
Yeah, it's quite satisfying. I'm very satisfied about the contributions that I made to the roles which I was interested with. The confidence that the team showed on me. So it's very satisfying that I fulfilled my job.
Excellent. I'm also from a security background. I did my master's in distributed systems and security,
Okay.
and my PhD focused on preventing piracy over web. I share the same passion as you, Srinivas, and it's really an interesting field. And it also falls into the STEM careers, science, technology,
Yeah.
engineering, mathematics careers. So, my second question to you is that which is your favorite STEM subject and why?
Yeah, technology, obviously, in the sense I am more intrigued about the scientific method of problem solving. So just not the core competency, but also the attitude in for solving the real world problems, understanding the requirement and understanding the stakeholders, and then clearly establishing the use cases, what we are going to solve, and gathering the information and connecting the dots. So information technology is my favorite subject in.
I totally agree with you that you need to understand the problem which you're solving and you need to come up with an algorithmic logic or what steps would you take in order to solve your problem and you can be more productive and more efficient out of this. Very nice. So you have slightly touched on problem solving and providing a solution. So how do you think students who are into STEM education, how can they use these skills and how can it help students to innovate?
Yeah, they need to have the thorough understanding of the underlying principles and the patterns and the frameworks that are being used for the advanced technology in the advanced technologies. The underlying frameworks and patterns are the important thing. Need to understand the objective of that particular technology, what it's meant to solve, and how it is being accomplished, and what is the use case they are solving and how it is being accomplished, how different components are combined together to form that particular solution. If you understand the framework, that means you need to study many candidate systems. So you need to go under the hood, what's going on. So if you know about that, it would be easy for them to come up with new ideas, use the existing information and use the existing framework and come up with a new idea solving a new real world problem.
Absolutely, and totally again agree with you that getting the basics, getting the fundamentals right, and knowing the theory is very important because if you know the basics correctly, then you can fit in your ideas and see what
yeah,
difference would it make, how would it work. I was involved in a project. I did a project in UK that was about saving the electricity. So we used to have humongous amount of electricity bill, and we did a study over a month looking at what areas during day, afternoon, and night are, lit, and wherever what are the possible areas where we could save energy. So what we did
yeah,
was we put the sensors all around the building, and it was, automatically controlling the light. So if there was a presence of a person, then the light would turn on. And if there was no one around, then the light would turn off. And we were able to cut our electricity bill by 40%. So that's an example of innovation where, as you said earlier, the strategy, the algorithmic logic, getting the
yeah,
fundamentals right. It wasn't
yeah.
invention. It wasn't invention. It was about
Yes,
understanding the basics and putting it right together, and
yeah,
coming up with a solution which could save our bill by understanding our fundamentals right. And
yeah,
we were able to innovate where we could. It also made it an impact.
yeah,
Now, come across is, when I was in school, I had been reading a lot of textbooks,
yeah,
and whatever the project I was trying to create, I was always trying to find what is the solution, what is the roadmap to the solution. Now, I would like to ask you that are you involved in self-learning, and how
yeah.
does self-learning can
Mhm.
help you in the innovation process? If you can give us an example, please.
In information technology, when you are part of software development, there would be instances where you need to work on domains which you are not familiar with. For example, I'm very much proficient working with Windows components like Windows kernel and user mode, but I had zero knowledge on industrial automation, ICS, industrial control system. But the team decided to develop a secure components for securing the industrial automation component. So it's like learn while doing it. Buying a PLC or having a PLC experimenting with it is not that easy for us. And need to have a strong domain knowledge to provide security solutions to it. Even though we are not involved in any functional aspects of it, but you need to
Mhm.
understand everything, the communication that happens between different components in that particular system, how the data communicates, what are the protocols used, all those things. You need to understand the complete infrastructure. During my entire career, based on the challenges which we took, I was assigned with. So there is always a steep learning curve involved in it because one side you need to be compliant with the enterprise architecture of the organization, and you need to provide a solution to the domain which you don't know. So you need to somehow hook the solution, learn about the domain, understand nitty-gritties, filter out what is necessary for our problem domain, and experimenting with it and proving our assumptions, and then integrating with our existing architecture, which we are proficient with. So learning is part of any software engineering class.
And this is a very good example of project-based learning where you were introduced to the objective, but you had no clue on how to achieve it. And eventually you learned and came up with a solution. And lifelong learning is also very important, especially in the technology age.
Yeah,
Let's take an example of a person who's into programming. Programming languages have changed quite a lot.
yeah,
The new and newer programming languages are emerging just to make the life of the programmer easy. However, the concepts and the logic that was
mhm,
since the beginning till today, they haven't changed.
same. Yeah,
It's only the way we write the syntax has changed.
yeah,
And so lifelong learning in all aspects of our lives is very, very important. Now, of course, when you are creating something and the example you cited, the journey would not have been very smooth. Right. So when I was doing my PhD, I thought, yes, I've cracked the solution. But then a moment later, I kind of realized that I've actually failed myself. And coming out with those failures and standing up on the feet again and striking right at the mark, So, how do you deal with failures and rejection, and what do you do in order to overcome those?
Yeah, so primary concern would be handling the side effects of the failure, like social anxiety and other things. So you should somehow come out of it, accept the failure, practice some mindfulness and other stuff, and come out of it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is you need to accept the failure at the earliest. In the sense, you don't try to hide it, or it would cost a lot to the organization or anyone. So I accept it, overcome the side effects of it, like social anxiety and all those stuff. Practice some mindfulness and speak to your friends and come out of it. Reevaluate, reassess the situation, saying that what is the reason for the failure? Are there any environmental aspects to it? Are there any other? Did we identify the failure first? Is it the symptom which we are tracking, or is it a failure? And then, so understanding and come out with do a retrospective with the team members as well. Get the perspective of others as well, and be open-minded. Get the feedback, and then keep moving on. In the sense, come out with a solution or come out with a plan so that that particular failure doesn't repeat again, and keep moving forward with all the inputs.
This is a very good advice that reflecting back on the situation, what are the direct factors which affected where you could have controlled yourself, and what were the indirect factors or the
Yeah.
external factors that would have affected. And then discussion is very important. Students
Yeah.
can discuss with their parents, with their teachers, not just
Yeah.
their friends, and the adults can discuss with their colleagues,
Yeah.
right? And together find a way out of, so that at least you do not repeat the same thing again.
Yeah, identifying and raising the flag at the earliest is the first thing to do. So don't try to cover it up. So you realize the failure, identify, raise the flag, discuss it. So the major problem would be handling the social anxiety and others, the attitude that we need to handle, in the sense, psychological aspect that needs to be handled first.
Can you please help us understand what is your meaning of social anxiety?
Yeah, social anxiety is something, in the sense, your conscious brain will stop functioning, and you will be on autopilot mode. In the sense, you just react to what is happening, and you lose reasoning. In the sense, you just get excited about what others are thinking, and it has impact on your psychological well-being as well, right? Excited about what others are thinking, so about my failure and stuff like that. So you just need to accept it, and then what it is, and then just keep moving forward. How we could mitigate it, or how we could solve it.
So my last question is, so one of the things you mentioned during this conversation is about self-learning and
Mhm.
learning to find better solutions, even to the problems we would have never heard about. So how do you go about it, in terms of self-learning? Do you read? Do you watch? Where do you
Yeah.
get your inspiration?
Yeah, so I learn based on the problem statement, as I mentioned. Right? The learning is completely for solving the problem. So I have a problem statement. I need to well define it. Shouldn't be like I'm just pursuing one particular aspect of it. I need to understand what exactly is the problem. So get well defined problem statement is something which is considered as half solved, right? So we should have a proper problem statement, get the different perspectives of the same problem from different people. It's not like a single brain can, you should get input from others as well. Should be open and figure out what is the data that we need to collect. So this is the problem statement, and these are the areas which I need to ramp up, and what is the information that is needed. So if we wanted something to be discovered, an endpoint, for example, so I need to gather some information about the IT hygiene in the sense of an endpoint. I need to understand how I could get, what are the different frameworks that allows me to do that, or what are the different APIs that allows me to do that. And gather whatever information you could get from whatever sources like book, internet, and then you just need to filter it out. In the sense, you can't keep going on reading lot many theory aspects of it. You just need to filter it out. In the sense, analyze the data which you collected and course correct. If you are not in the right path, just course correct, redefine what you need to collect again, come up with the questions in the sense break it down. The problem anyway will be broken down and each component. What is the information that I need? Collect it and retrospect it intermittently whether I am in the right path or not. And then once you have a solution, once you correlated all the data which you collected and came up with a solution, get it reviewed, be open to have discussion, be open to accept suggestions from your, be a team player, get the input, and then move ahead with implementing the solution.
Excellent answer, Srinivas, and I'm really impressed with the way you approach and answer this question because we live in an age where we have got wealth of information. You can
Yeah,
Google and you can get everything.
yeah,
And the challenge which students especially face is what is right, what is not
that is
right,
wrong.
what should I consume, what should I
Yeah,
not consume. So your
yeah,
approach of finding that problem statement, I need to get up early in the morning. What steps should I take? What
yeah,
information should I seek so
yeah,
that I can get up early in the morning?
yeah,
Or if I want to, let's say, study about, friction in physics. So what are the different sources I should look at? Which sources align with the concept of friction? Can I know more about friction and how can it help me?
yeah,
So the problem statement, you can also break down the problem statement into smaller parts, as you said, and then find the material related to the problem statement, which helps you understand or answer that
yeah.
problem in a better way. And that's the way to go about in a very systematic manner to
Yeah.
self learn.
I forgot one more aspect of it, like experimenting and validating your assumptions. So you have assumptions, you need to do POCs and stuff like that. Experiment with it and validate your assumptions and have the data. Experiment.
Of course, that is the hands on implementation. Hands on implementation does not mean that you create something out of your
Something.
hands, but it also includes that you go out and, let's say, do a survey,
Yeah.
get the data, so that you can do a better decision making
Yeah.
based on the real time data. It's not upon how do I feel,
Yeah.
how do I look at a problem. It's about what is happening actually,
Yeah.
and let me try to find a better way. And whatever you learn, whatever you read, whatever problem statement you solve, should have a tangible outcome and some kind
Thanks.
of
Yeah.
impact.
Without bias on any particular solution, without having any preconceived notions, we just need to prove that this particular assumption is validated by this particular POC or something like that.
Because one of the things early in my academics I was taught is never to assume anything. And there are lots of possibilities, and
Yeah,
just go out and find the answer, but
fine.
don't assume. Thank you, Srinivas, for being here, and I hope that all my guests who hear this conversation with you would be really motivated on your approach to solve problems. And even when you do not know how would you solve that problem, you still take an effort,
Effort.
learn,
Yeah.
find more information, and get it right.